You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Today is Wednesday, May 26th, 2021, and this is your daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. On today's show, Star Trek Online releases House United, their latest update bringing an end to the Klingon Civil War. George Takei remembers his time in Japanese-American internment camps, and we're heading back in time for a little Star Trek history. I'm Alison Pitt, and today's show is sponsored by Every Plate. Try Every Plate for just $1.99 per meal, plus an additional 20% off your next 2 boxes by going to everyplate.com and entering code DSTN199. On Tuesday, Perfect World Entertainment Inc. and Cryptic Studios announced the latest addition to Star Trek Online. Following the 2020 updates House Divided and House Shattered, House United will give players the chance to participate in the highly anticipated finale to the Klingon Civil War, which has for too long torn the Klingon Empire apart. House United is available now on PC and will be released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on August 3rd. After traveling to the sacred planet of Boreth and descending into the pits of Grethor, Ja'ula, matriarch of House Mokai, has resurrected the famed Klingon warrior L'Rell, voiced by Mary Chieffo. L'Rell will be a guiding light for Ja'ula on what it truly means to be Klingon, as players will have to prove themselves and build an army before heading to Kronos for the final epic battle. Captains will also encounter emblematic characters such as Akar, voiced by Robert O'Reilly, General Martok, voiced by J.G. Hertzler, and Adetpa, voiced by Rekha Sharma. These events take place across 2 brand new featured episodes. In Warriors of the Empire, players will fight alongside Ja'ula and L'Rell as they build up their forces, before heading to Kronos to end the Klingon Civil War in the 2nd episode, A Day Long Remembered. House United also gives players the opportunity to earn exclusive rewards by completing tasks in a special event and participating in a brand new task force operation. The Only Kronos Endures event will allow game captains to earn an exclusive reward, a ground set inspired by the villainous Akar, by exploring new episodes, patrols, and task force operations associated with the Klingon Civil War. Players will get to experience Remain Klingon, a 5-captain space TFO, which concludes the Civil War storyline as the final battle takes place over Kronos. There are also 3 new patrols available based on the Warriors of the Empire episode. You can check out the launch trailer for House United at the Star Trek Online channel on YouTube. For more information and how to download the game, which is free to play, visit StarTrekOnline.com. As the United States marks Asian Pacific American Heritage Month during May, George Takei spoke about his family's harrowing experiences during World War II in a new interview with the audio network Odyssey. Takei, who grew up in California, spoke passionately about how difficult it was to be a Japanese family in the United States after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and he shared personal memories of the backlash against Japanese Americans that followed. They started spitting at us on the sidewalk, insulting us, assaulting us, he told Odyssey, noting a parallel with current experiences of Asian American violence. The government leaders were led by mass hysteria, he continued, offering recollections of curfews, frozen bank accounts, and destruction of personal property. Takei spoke with notable heartache as he told of Japanese Americans being rounded up and sent to internment camps without charges or trial, and shared his own memories of that event. My brother and I were just gazing out the front window out at the neighborhood, and suddenly we saw 2 soldiers marching up our driveway. In the United States of America, in Los Angeles, California, soldiers pointed guns with bayonets on them at us and ordered us out of our home. I will never, ever be able to forget that terrible morning, he said. Takei went on to tell of his desire to raise awareness of this dark chapter of American history and spoke about projects that seek to do just that. He himself has written 2 books about his experiences. His latest, a graphic memoir entitled They Called Us Enemy, was re-released last year in an expanded edition, and you can order that from bookshop.org, amazon.com, or wherever you get your books. In just a moment, I'll be taking you back in time to find out what happened this week in Star Trek history, but first, a word from our sponsor, EveryPlate. Today is Hump Day. Still far enough away from the weekend that it feels like the week might never end. I know what you're thinking. Time to jazz up the dinner menu. Now, it's too late to fix today, but you can set yourself up for next Hump Day by letting EveryPlate plan, shop, and deliver everything you need to cook yourself a nice little midweek pick-me-up. And not only is EveryPlate great for changing up your dinner routine, it's nice on your wallet too. A meal from EveryPlate is actually cheaper than a meal made from grocery store ingredients. How does sweet and tangy cherry meatballs with roasted zucchini and garlic mashed potatoes sound? Or remember I told you earlier about their garlic and rosemary chicken with roasted root vegetables? Their delicious meals shake up your routine in about 30 minutes, so skip the grocery store and let EveryPlate make your hump day. As a daily Star Trek news listener, you can try EveryPlate for just $1.99 a meal, plus an additional 20% off your next 2 boxes. Just head to everyplate.com and enter the code DSTN199. That's everyplate.com and the promo code DSTN199. And a big thanks to EveryPlate for sponsoring today's show. And now a look back into Star Trek history. It was today, May 26th, back in 2009, that the Star Trek The Original Series novel Troublesome Minds was published. It was written by the late Dave Galanter and was his first full-length solo novel, following a number of co-written novels, solo novellas, and short stories. The book's cover art, featuring a contemplative Spock in profile, was created by Cliff Nielsen, who has illustrated multiple Star Trek novel covers and has also illustrated covers for Stephen King and Neil Gaiman, among many others. In Troublesome Minds, First Contact becomes a threat of interstellar war after the USS Enterprise rescues Burles, the unusually powerful leader of the Asitri, a species of telepaths, who want Burles dead. Captain Kirk and the crew of the Enterprise find themselves caught between the Asitri, their potentially dangerous leader, and threats from the neighbors of the Asitri, the Odib, who also fear Burles's troublesome mind. Pick up Troublesome Minds at bookshop.org, amazon.com, or wherever you get your books. And you can tune in again next Wednesday for more Star Trek history. Well, that's it for today's daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Don't forget to check out the other great shows on the network at podcasts.roddenberry.com. Daily Star Trek news is produced by me, Alison Pitt, and written by Chris Peterson and Jack Brown, with history by David Powell. Today's show is sponsored by EveryPlate. Try EveryPlate for just $1.99 per meal, plus an additional 20% off your next 2 boxes, by going to everyplate.com and entering code DSTN199. I'm back tomorrow with more of the Star Trek news you need to know and the weekend's Star Trek events. I'm Alison Pitt. Live long and prosper.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.